Hey everybody, welcome to Board Game Heaven. My name is Raymond, and in this video I'm taking a look at Latria by Japanime Games, which is one of the games in the Domina Anthology Volume 2, which is this box over here. And Japanime Games were kind enough to send over this copy for me to review. Latria is a game for 3 to 5 players. It's a trick-taking game that plays in about 10 to 20 minutes for ages 8 and up. And before I explain how to set up and play the game and share my thoughts on it, I'd like to ask you to please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That really helps the channel. And if you'd like to support what I do, there's also a Patreon page. The link is in the description below. And in return for your support, you will get early access to all of my videos, your name in the credits, and also access to some Patreon exclusive content. All right, let's open up the box and set up a game. To set up a game of Latria, one player takes all of the cards, there are 60 cards, gives those a good shuffle, and then deals 10 cards to every player. Keep those cards in your hand without showing the other player. Then the player who shuffled the deck draws the top card of the deck and places it next to the deck. That is the Ascendant card. If the revealed card was a red Eclipse card, then continue to reveal cards from the divination deck until you reveal a different celestial. That's the setup. Let's explain the rules. Latria is a trick-taking game with 4 different suits. There are 3 suits with 19 cards and 1 suit that only has 3. All of these cards depict one of the 4 celestials. They're Sol, Luna, Polaris, and the Eclipse. The numbers in the top left of the card is that card's power. The numbers next to that, which is pretty small, I'll bring that card up close. So you can see here, Sol has numbers 2 to 20. That means that their power ranges between 2 and 20. There's always only one card with a certain power, so this is the 13. But this is the range in which Sol has these power numbers. Luna here ranges from 22 to 40, and this is card 37. And Polaris is the highest, and that ranges from 42 to 60. Finally, Eclipse only has 3 cards, and it has the values 1, 21 and 41. So this is the 41 card. So there's 2 other cards in the game. Finally, on the bottom of the card, there's a number of gems, which can be different. They have a range of numbers of gems on the bottom of each of these suits. And those gems are basically your victory points. That's the amount of influence that a card is worth. So if you take a trick in this game, you take a number of cards, and at the end, you score those gems as your victory points. A round goes as follows. You take a look at your cards. So you've got 10 cards in your hand, and you take a look at them, and you can arrange them if you want. And then you decide which card you want to play, and you play that card face down in front of you all on the table, and all the other players do the same. So let's say, for example, I picked this card, I play that face down, and the other players, I don't know, maybe one player played this card, and another player played, for example, that card. I don't know, just randomly taking a card. And then after everybody has picked a card, you reveal that card to all the players. So everybody flips over their card. Now, if a player played a Eclipse card, so that's the red cards, then the Ascendant's power, so this is always the card that is called the Ascendant, that's the card that was played from the deck, as well as all the cards matching that same suit will have their power reduced to 0. So in this case, that means that all of these blue cards that were played on the table are now worth 0 point. If another player played a different suit, that will still be worth the number of power that's on the card. Next, you calculate each celestial's total power by adding up the power values of the cards of that same suit that are in play, including the Ascendant card for each type separately. And normally you can easily tell at a glance which is the higher, so you don't need to exactly calculate the number, because this is clear that the blue cards normally would have the highest value. But of course the Eclipse was played, so these are all worth 0 points. So this is in total of 0, and the red suit, the Eclipse suit, is worth 41 points. There was another player who played, for example, this Soul card. Maybe there was a fourth player. Then their card would be worth 13 points because there are no other Soul cards in play. Now the Celestial with the highest power total is the Rising Celestial. If there are 2 or more Celestials tied for the highest total power, which is a very rare occasion, but it can happen, then there is no Rising Celestial this round, and players do not claim cards in the final step of the round. But before that final step, you check to see if your card matches the Ascendant but has a lower power than it. Now in this case, both of these cards would have had a higher power, but they're all reduced to 0, so that is moot. But if this player hadn't played the red card and they had, for example, let's look for, they're all over here. Let's look for a blue card that has a lower value. So here, there's a 43. So if this player had played this card instead, then the blue Polaris suit would have had the highest power in total. That would have been the Rising Celestial. Now, one of the players would have had a lower power, but it is matching the Ascendant. Then that player can simply claim their own card. So they take that card as their own. That's what they score. Then the other players check their cards, and if you had the highest power among the Rising Celestials, again, which is the blue suit in this case, then they can claim their card as well as the Ascendant and any cards under it. So if there were more cards played on this stack, then they claim all of those cards. So in this case, this player would have had the highest power, so they take both of these cards and score them as their own. But if the Ascendant card, so let's say this was the Ascendant instead, if that was the highest valued card among the Rising Celestials, then nobody claims any cards. If an Eclipse was revealed during the round, then all of the Ascendant cards and their matching suit will be worth 0, but you can still claim your card, your own card, if it matches the Ascendant. So even if you had a higher power and not a lower power than the Ascendant card, if your card matched the suit of the Ascendant, you can still claim your own card. If multiple Eclipse cards are played in the same round, then like normal, they will reduce the Ascendant's power and all other played cards of the same suit to 0. And then you check if Eclipse is the Celestial with the greatest total power, and the player who played the Eclipse card with the highest power claims their own card, the Ascendant in the middle of the table, and any cards underneath it. So after that's done, any cards that weren't claimed are placed in the middle of the table in such a manner that you can still see the gems, so the value of those cards and the number of points you get at the end of the game. And any cards that you did claim, you just keep face down in front of you. So then a new round starts. One of the players simply takes the top card of the deck, flips that around, and puts that on top of these other cards. And once again, if that card happened to be the Eclipse, you simply put that down and draw a new card and put that on top of that. And you simply repeat those steps until you have played a total of 7 rounds and have 3 cards left in your hand, and at the end of the final round, because you start out with 10 cards, you play 7 rounds, you will have 3 left. Those remaining 3 cards are simply discarded, and then you proceed to scoring. Scoring is very simple. So let's say I've claimed these cards, for example. Maybe there was a red one in there somewhere. So then I simply look at all the gems and I add up all of those gems regardless of their color. Every gem is worth 1 point. So you simply add up all of the gems you have, and the player with the most influence, the most number of gems, is the winner. If there is a tie, the game ends in a draw. Those are all the rules on how to play Latria. Let's go to my final thoughts. So my final thoughts on Latria by Japanime Games. Let's start with the components. Basically, you get a small box with a deck of cards. The cards themselves are of a good quality. They're nice and thick. They are printed clearly. They do have a very glossy finish. They're very shiny and smooth, so that does make them just a little bit slippery on the deck, but yeah, that's not really a problem. They don't have a linen finish, just a very smooth finish. The box itself is of a good sturdy cardboard quality, and you can get it as a separate game or in the Domina Anthology. This is volume 2. There's also a volume 1 which has 3 different small box games in it as well, and that's pretty cool. It's nice and compact. The deck does fit in one half of the box's insert, but if you sleeve your cards, then you're gonna have to split up the deck, and then it will fill the entire box. So they took that into account as well, which is appreciated. The artwork is really good. I really like the artwork. All the Celestials are represented as these anime girls, and they look really lovely. And every suit has 3 different pieces of art, and they depend on the value that the card is worth, the number of jewels at the bottom. So every number of jewels has a different bit of art, and they look really, really nice and lovely. Beautiful artwork, really like it. The theme is okay. It doesn't really add to the gameplay, because basically it is a trick-taking game, plain and simple. It has 4 suits. 3 suits have 19 cards and 1 suit has 3 cards, and you're trying to remember numbers being played. You're trying to get as many points as you can, and the numbers are also indicated in the bottom here, not just the strength of the card that you have, but also the range of numbers that this suit has, which is very, very handy. And so basically it boils down to that, and the theme is pretty much irrelevant. On itself, though, I do like the theme. I think it's a pretty nice theme to have, about the Celestials and having different values, basically. And the eclipse, that's the dangerous one, because it eclipses the skies and you can't see the Celestials anymore. So all those points are 0. So it kind of works, and I think it's well done. But the gameplay is, of course, the most important. Like I said, it boils down to a trick-taking game. I feel this is a pretty entry-level trick-taking game. If you've never played trick-taking games, this would be a very good choice, because it's easy to learn, easy to teach, and you will probably learn while playing. At first, you probably don't know which cards you should play at a certain point. But after a few rounds, you'll figure that out, and you'll know that, well, if I have a certain value and a certain card is being played from the deck, and that is the Ascendant card, which is a certain suit with a certain value, you can already tell, okay, so this value is in this range of that suit. Should I try to play a higher card? Do I have a higher card? And try to take that trick. And of course, it also matters if you're the first player to play a card or the last player, because then you can react to what others have played. If you're the first, you kind of need to gamble or guess what others have. If you have the highest card in a suit, you can be pretty sure that you're taking that trick, unless somebody else plays the Eclipse card, of course. But there's only 3 of them in the game, so you kind of have to take a gamble with that, and that's basically what you're doing. So I find that pretty fun. It's quick. And yeah, if you're looking for a easy to play trick-taking game, this is certainly that. If you're looking for a more advanced trick-taking game, if you're a veteran at trick-taking games, this might be a bit too simple. Replayability is, I think, pretty good. It'll be replayable for as long as you enjoy playing this, because a round is over pretty quickly, the game is over pretty quickly, and certainly after your first game, when it finally clicks, after a couple of rounds, you probably want to go ahead and play again. So you can play this, lots of times in succession, because it's so fast, and you can play it with just about everyone. So it'll remain replayable for as long as you enjoy the game, is basically the conclusion here. Finally, the language dependency. Fortunately, there is no language dependency. There's, of course, the rule book, but if you know the rules and you can explain it in your own language, different language than English perhaps, then it's very easy to do, and you can play this with anyone, because all the cards have on them is the number of points you can score with them in the form of these gems. the strength of the card, so the, the height of the value, so you can ready to juice if you're gonna take that trick or not. That's all you need to know, really. Plus, like I said, the indication of the range of this suit, and that is very, very helpful. So yeah, also a thumbs up for language independency there. So in the end, a pretty enjoyable, light trick-taking game, pretty fun, nice art. I can certainly recommend this if you're looking for a low-level entry trick-taking game. So that was my review. I hope you found that helpful. If you're deciding whether you like this game or not, and if you should pick it up, check out the link in the description below to the Japanime website. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'd also like to thank Japanime Games for sending me over these games to review. You'll also see reviews of the other games in the Domina anthology on my channel. Please also check out my Patreon page by clicking the link in the description below or the icon at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Board Game Heaven.